Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. I prostrate to my Gurus for all that they have shared about this wonderful Upanishad, which I have the privilege to be able to introduce to you. This is one Upanishad that I had a chance to learn directly under a Guru, Swami Anubhavananda Ji. We are entering today into the world of the Upanishads. This is one of the most enchanting and mysterious world, and the highest as far as spiritual quest is concerned. Never before and never after has human consciousness attained such Himalayan heights. The days of the Upanishads were really golden. The Upanishads are also called Veda Anta because they appear in the end portion of the Vedas. Other synonyms are also Jnana Kanda because they give spiritual wisdom and remove ignorance. It is also called Atma Vidya, or the true nature of oneself. It is also called Brahma Vidya. In the last class, we saw how the word Upanishad is broken up. Upa means Guru Upasadanam, going towards a Guru. Ni means to sit down, but a little lower than the level of the Guru. Shad means to sit. Shad also means to destroy ignorance, to destroy any forms of limitations, to destroy samsara, bondage, all that keeps us limited. The Upanishads have been classified by scholars as major and minor. Those Upanishads which have been commented upon great acharyas like Adi Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya are called the major Upanishads. And they have been, the major Upanishads are 10 of them. Today we will be studying Kaivalya Upanishad. Although it is called a minor Upanishad, there is nothing minor about it because it discusses about Brahman, and Brahman is the same in all the Upanishads. Kaivalya Upanishad comes from the Atharva Veda. There are 3 Upanishads which come under the major Upanishads in Kaivalya. They are Prashna Upanishads, Mundaka Upanishad, and the Mandukya Upanishad. Today we enter into one of the most wonderful, delightful, short Upanishads, and within a span of 1 month, we will be able to study this whole Upanishad. It is also a moksha shastra that leads to liberation, or Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means while I am in this body, can I be free? The Vedantic wisdom is very beautifully presented. This is one Upanishad which gives us a lot of inputs about meditation, which is very well elaborated in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. There are a string of Mahavakyas. Mahavakya is that statement which equates the Jivatma with the Paramatma. And as I said, it has got only 25 mantras which belong to the Atharva Veda. The word Kaivalya means Kevala, means alone. There is no second to it, which also means Advitiyam. There is no second. Kaivalya also means moksha. Kaivalya also means Purnatvam, or total fulfillment. The last word of this Upanishad goes like this: Kaivalyam phalam Kaivalyam phalam iti. This is the exclamation that I have attained to freedom. I have attained to total freedom. The Upanishad helps us to move from the traditional religious approach to what is called a triangular format. Triangular format is I am suffering because of all the difficulties I experience in the world. This is called the Jiva Jagat Ishvara triangle. Because I have difficulty from the world around me, the world also includes my body and mind. And when there is a problem in my body, mind, or in the world around me, I appeal to God for help. And this is called the traditional triangular format. This Upanishad and all Upanishads help us to move from the triangular format to binary format. The binary format is very difficult to accept and learn, but this is true, absolutely true from an Upanishadic perspective, that the only reality is the one who's listening in you. The only reality is the one that you can feel. You are the only reality. Everything around you, including your body, mind, and the whole world, is of a lower order of reality. Not that it is not there. It is like an instrument through which I function, but it is a lower order of reality. In this format, which is called the binary format, if anything happens to my body or my mind, or anything happens to the world around me, if this understanding is very clear, I will not be affected by anything that happens to my body, mind, or the world. Now, this is what gives us Purnatvam, and this is understanding, and this is how the Upanishad takes us step by step. Before we study any Upanishad, there is a Shanti Pata, and the Shanti Pata is common to all the Upanishads from a particular Veda. This has to be chanted by the teacher and the student together. And a Shanti Pata is primarily as a rapport building between the teacher and the student. It invokes blessings that there is no obstacles in our study. And in this particular Shanti Pata is asking for the well-being of the human body. We have had a very nice explanation last time. The key word here is Bhadram. Bhadram means auspicious. Whatever I hear, whatever I see, may it be auspicious. This is my prayer. But if you go around the world, you will see things which are considered inauspicious. But can I have the mental capability of being able to see the auspiciousness in the so-called inauspicious? That is the power of Bhadram. Whatever I see, hear, experience, let it be auspicious. Let all my parts of the body be healthy, at least as far as my spiritual study is concerned, till my goal is achieved. And I invoke on the various devatas. Like for instance, my eye is supported by Lord Surya. My hand is supported by Lord Indra. So too, we appeal to all these gods, Surya, Indra, Brihaspati, the Lord of speech, the Lord of wisdom is Brihaspati. Arishta is Garuda. Let there be no obstruction. Garuda is the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. When Garuda goes, it is like the president's vehicle. There will be no obstacles to the path. So let there be no obstacles, and therefore we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti 3 times. Coming to the Upanishad proper. Remember, we are not at a graduate level or an undergraduate level. At an undergraduate level is like the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is relatively simple because it is an Upanishad given to a Grihastha who Arjuna, and we can relate to Arjuna. Arjuna is extremely accomplished in the world but has no idea of spirituality. He is going through certain difficulties in the world, and when he is going through difficulty, he goes to a guru and says, please teach me. I am confused. I do not know what to do. When you surrender to a teacher, it is like this. But here in the Upanishads, it is at a postgraduate level. The student is highly qualified, and a highly qualified student clearly knows what is my goal in life. I want moksha and moksha alone. And he knows also something, that moksha is possible only through self-knowledge, through knowing what is this Atma in me. This self-knowledge is possible only through the study of scriptures. And the scriptures will reveal only when you study under the guidance of an acharya. And in this context, this is the scene of the Kaivalya Upanishad. The Kaivalya Upanishad, the teacher is Brahmaji. The subject matter, the context is about Brahman. Brahman has no form. It cannot be seen. It is the seer in you. So we are talking about the seer consciousness. The teacher here is Chaturmukha Brahmaji. The student is Ashvalayana Rishi, a highly accomplished Rishi of the Rig Veda. And when a qualified student comes to a qualified teacher, what exactly happens? What is the dialogue? I will request Chetana to explain the first verse of Kaivalya Upanishad. Over to you, Chetana, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Kaivalya Upanishad begins by showing when and how a student should approach a guru. Atha Ashvalayano Bhagavantam Parameshtinam Upasametya Uvacha. Atha means thereafter. Ashvalayana approached Upasametya Bhagavantam Parameshtinam. That is the Lord of creation, Lord Brahmaji, and spoke Uvacha. Now the word Atha, which this Upanishad begins with, has a lot of significance. Many scriptural texts like Dharma Shastras, Yoga Shastras, and Karma Shastras begin with this word. Vyasacharya's Brahma Sutra begins with Athato Brahma Jiknyasa. Adi Shankaracharya and many others have written commentaries on this one word Atha. Atha here means thereafter. Thereafter what? This thereafter indicates that something had happened before the student approached the guru. Here it means that the student, after acquiring the necessary fourfold qualifications of sadhana chatusaya sampatti, through karma yoga, upasana yoga, is now eligible for Brahma Vidya. He is an adhikari or an eligible student. Only then such a student can approach a guru. And how does he approach? Upasametya, which means Guru Upasavadanam, that is, approaching with a reverential attitude and total surrender. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, which means, may you gain that knowledge by prostration, by service, and by proper inquiry. And all these are indicated by this one word, upasametya. So atha and upasametya conveys when and how a student should approach a guru. And here, after acquiring the necessary qualification, sage Ashvalayana reverentially approaches Lord Brahmaji and says, O Lord, Bhagavaha, Brahma Vidyam Adihi, teach me Brahma Vidya. Now, Adihi means teach me, but according to strict grammar, the word Adihi does not mean teach me, but means loud remembrance. This was because the teaching was an oral tradition in those days and nothing was written down. So what the student wants to convey is that, O Lord, you have received the teaching from your Guru. I request you to recollect all that teaching aloud so that I can hear and learn. This word Adihi is also used in Taittiriya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, and Viveka Chudamani. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna uses the word Shadimam while asking Krishna to teach him. And what does the student want to learn? Brahma Vidya, which is the knowledge of Brahman, the real nature of oneself. Now, this is the main request of Ashvalayana to the teacher, Lord Brahmaji. The rest of the verse is a glorification of the Brahma Vidya. This again indicates that the student is a qualified one and knows the significance and the value of this knowledge. And that is why he is asking for Brahma Vidya. So let us see what the glories of Brahma Vidya is given by the student here. He enumerates 5 of them. He begins by saying that this knowledge is Varishtam. This is the greatest wisdom sought by everyone, Shreshtam. Second glory he mentions is Sadbihi Sevyamanam. It is sought by all qualified, mature people whose priorities in life are very clear and they seek it all the time, Sada, as it is their top priority. Then third, he says this knowledge is Nigudham. Nigudham means it is the most secret wisdom known to very few people. Lord Krishna calls this as Rajaguhyam, the royal secret in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Next glory he says is Yaya Sarva Papam Vyapohya. By this wisdom, all the papams of sins are destroyed. And we should remember this includes punya also, as according to Vedanta, accumulation of both papa and punya leads to the cycle of birth and death. So with this knowledge, you can get out of this cycle. And finally, he says, Vidwan Purusham Yati. The wise person attains Purusha. Purusha here is another name for Brahman. And what type of Brahman is he attains? Parat Param Brahma. He attains Brahman, which is beyond Maya. Maya stands for matter. So Brahman is beyond matter. It is the consciousness principle. Therefore, the Upanishad is saying that by knowledge itself, one can attain Brahman. Thus, I want you to impart this knowledge to me, O Lord, was a request of sage Ashvalayana to Lord Brahmaji. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very nice explanation of the opening verse. So that is the context. So you have a qualified student approaching the teacher in a very reverential manner and making very clear exactly what he wants. Now the student, this Upanishad begins with the word Atha. Atha is if there are 2 words uttered by Lord Brahma before he started the creation, were the 2 words Atha and Om. And therefore the word Atha has got almost the same significance as Omkara. Atha means an auspicious beginning. And you will see so many texts like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali begin with Atha Yoganusasanam. The Brahma Sutras begin with Atato Brahma Jignasa. Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa begins with Atato Dharma Jignasa. So too Narada Bhakti Sutras also begin with Atha, Atato. It also means thereafter. Thereafter means what? As was nicely explained, after a person has got the necessary qualifications. How do you know a person has got the necessary qualifications? When your interest in Vedanta is very keen. If your interest in Vedanta is very keen, that means you know you have the, in the Mundakopanishad, there is a verse which says, Tad Vijnartam sa gurum eva abhigachet samit pani. That means you go to the teacher in a right manner. Uvacha, you ask a question. Now the word adihi is a very important word. It has come in so many scriptural texts. When the student asks, I want to know what you have been taught by your teacher. Finally, although it has been explained, I will reiterate these 5 points. The student who has come to the teacher says, I want to know Brahma Vidya because it is a very glorious knowledge. This is the highest thing. In our scriptures, it is called Paravidya. And it is the only thing that is worth knowing. The word Varishtam comes from Vara, like Swayam Vara. I choose myself, Vara. So this is Varenyam. In Gayatri Mantra, you have Varenyam. The highest of them is Varishtam. So this is the highest choice that you can have. And it is something chosen by noble people all the time. They want that. Nighudam comes from Guda. There is one Gudartha Deepika. Guda means hidden, secret. So secret means anything sacred is also secret. Secret here in the sense that even though the teacher will explain to you, it is difficult to understand. Very few people can know. That is why we need a very refined type of understanding to be able to understand Brahma Vidya. It destroys all my papa. All my papa here means punya also. All the karmas are destroyed. Remember last time I quoted a verse from the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita which says, Jnanagni, the fire of knowledge, sarva karmani basmasat kurute tata. All the karmas are completely destroyed and therefore there is no punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, and you attain to the highest which is beyond Maya. The word Purusha, our teacher has given 2 derivations, one which is all pervading, second is the indweller. So I want to attain to that indweller and that is possible through the learning of Brahma Vidya. With that we go to the next verse. I request Prakash Gera to please explain verse number 2. Prakash, please.
अखंडानंद बोधाय शिष्य संताप हारिणे सचिदानंद रूपाय तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Kaivalya Upanishad belongs to the Atharva Veda. Upani means bringing together the seeker and the goal. And Shad is the destroyer of ignorance, the samsara. It is the external pramanam leading to the internal prameya. The wisdom here, Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya, bringing together Jivatma and Paramatma. Kaivalya means only, the Advitiya, non-dual, which is itself Purna, leading to moksha. Kaivalya is expressed as Anand Upanishad, leading us to the Ananta Tattvam. The conversation, samvad between Brahmaji, the universal father, as the guru, and Ashwalayana, the seeker. Here, Brahmaji, the creator, has the knowledge of the initiation of the creation and the present creation to further guide us towards Abhayam, fearless, and Asangam, free from attachments. With this intelligent conscious as a sympathetic master, can lead us to the higher reality, free from the materialistic delusions. Coming to the shloka, the last portion of the previous shloka, where Ashwalayana Rishi asks, Yaya achirat sarva papam vyaposhya parat param purusham yati vidwan. This is a pariprashna in Sanskrit, we call it. It's a pariprashna, meaning asked politely, humbly, with shraddha and bhakti, and after Shashtanga Namaskara. O learned Bhagavan, from times immemorial, impart to me the wisdom and destroy all the sins, sarva papam, to attain the highest Purusha reality, wherein the ignorance is removed and the all-pervading indweller of the body, Brahman, is realized. To this, Brahmaji agrees and replies, Tasmai saha ovacha pitamah cha Shraddha Bhakti Dhyan Yogad Avaihi. Avaihi, here he says, may you know. Addressed to him, he addresses Ashwalayana, so addressed to him is Tasmai Saha, indeed, Ovacha. He says, Pitamaha is Brahmaji himself. He says, Shraddha, the faith, Bhakti, the commitment, and Dhyan, the single pointedness. May you know. Yogad Avaihi. Avaihi is may you know. Here Brahmaji is convinced that Ashwalayana is a qualified student, and therefore he directly engages him in Jnana Yoga. Here the seeker of the truth merges with the absolute. Brahmaji teaches the means of attaining Brahma Vidya. These means are further divided into portions. Sakshat Sadhana, the direct means, and Sahakari Sadhana, the supportive means. When you need to grow a plant, you need a seed. This is the direct means, but the seed alone is not enough to grow into a plant. It requires certain soil conditions, climatic conditions, and water. These are the supportive means. Giving the answer, the grandsire Brahmaji tells Ashwalayana, may you know through Shraddha, trust in the teaching, Bhakti, the commitment, and Dhyan, the meditation, the three Sakshat Sadhanas, which are revealed here in the form of Shravanam, Mananan, Nididhyasan. Here he says Shravanam is what we hear consistently and systematically. Mananam, we trust the knowledge and teaching imparted. Nididhyasan, further we put it into practical action. This wisdom thus will reflect in our actions, transforming our physical, emotional, and verbal personality, thereby purifying our mansa, vacha, karma. The definition of sin given in the Shastras is Anyatha san matmanam anyatha pratipadyate kim te nena kritam papam chuden atma apahinaha. To this, Adi Shankaracharya and Viveka Chudamani says, Swaswarupa anusandhanam bhakti iti abhitiyate. We are essentially divine. There is nobody undivine, but we start considering ourselves to be somebody other than divine. This sin is destroyed by the knowledge of the four essentials, Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyan, Yoga. Our problems can be solved. Here the problems, this Upanishad, the problems will be dissolved. With the help of this knowledge imparted to us by the Creator Brahmaji, we are blessed by the Sakshat Sadhana leading us towards moksha. Hari Om.
Thank you, Prakash, for a nice explanation and giving an overview of the context again. Remember, the student has come to the teacher and this is the reply of the teacher. How we listen to a scientific talk and how we listen to a Vedantic talk is a world of different. When you're listening to a scientific talk, you evaluate, you assess, you are evaluating everything and you're wanting to see whether it is right or wrong. You know, you always have, you critically evaluate. Here the teacher, our teacher has described how they studied the Upanishads. And when they studied the Upanishads on the first day, the book was treated like Goddess Saraswati. The book was literally worshipped. And our teacher, Swami Paramarthananda, had to carry it on his head, take it to his guru, do Pada Puja, Now that is the reverence with which you study the Upanishads. So the way you study the Upanishads is totally different from the way you listen to a scientific lecture. So the teacher says, you have to listen. You want to know Brahma Vidya, you have to have Shraddha, Bhakti and Dhyana. And if you come from Shraddha, if you come from that, now you're listening to the gospel, and a gospel is what God has spelled out. It is gospel truth. You are coming and listening from a teacher whom you trust completely, that my teacher is going to say what he's going to say is true. And if you come from that way, that is a very powerful learning when the message will come very clear to you. And that is how we have to listen through Shraddha, Bhakti, and to meditate. Then the message becomes very clear. We go to the third verse, and I request Dr. Ravi Shankar to explain this verse.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. A sannyasi is welcomed home with a Purna Kumbha, or when a Pithadipati prostrates before the Mahasamsthana Mahaswamiji, the disciples chant, Na karmana, na prajaya, dhane, na tyage, naika amritatva manashu, parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajate yadyato vishanti. This shloka also comes in the Mahanarayana Upanishad. The essence is, sannyasa is a supporting sadhana to the primary sadhana of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Sannyasa could be Bahiranga, using a Kashaya Vastra, Danda or a shaven head. But the shloka emphasizes on the Antaranga Sannyasa, that is, dilute Ahankara and Mamakara, or as Swamiji describes it, reduce possessions, obligations, relationships and transactions. The acronym used is PORT, P-O-R-T. They obstruct Shravanam. Earlier, the Vedic sannyasas would live like Suramandira Taru Mula Nivasa. But today, the sannyasas and grahasthas have often a similar abode. Pravritti Marga, Karma Kanda, Veda Purva, they all increase port. Nivritti Marga, Jnana Kanda, Vedanta, they decrease port. Grahasthas should reduce the karma, and the sannyasis should move from Vividisha sannyasi to a Vidvat sannyasi. With this as a background, the verse means thus. It is through renunciation of karmas and port, tyagena, that a few seekers, eka, have attained anashu, immortality or moksha or brahma aikyam, amritatvam, not through karma, na karmana, na prajaya, not by raising children. And children here also means people who represent those who assist in doing the karmas. They help in vairagya, but they don't give you jnana. Na dhanena, wealth is essential, but it does not mean that you get jnanam through wealth. Therefore, renunciation gives time for nididhyasana, and the time is limited. Such a sannyasi, yatayaha, enters or attains, gets aikyam, vishanti, unto that which shines, yadya vibhrajate. Parananakam, the word nakam needs a little explanation. Kam means pleasure, akam means pain, nakam is neither of them. Not even the sukha of swarga. And it is parena, it is beyond the heavens. Brahma Vidya is nitya ananda swarupa. This is so well echoed even in the Bhagavad Gita shloka. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartirno arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. Vihitam guhayam. This Brahma Vidya, this Nitya Ananda Swarupa, where does it reside? It resides in the cave of your heart. How far is it? It's not far at all. Vaikunta is the Hridayam and Vishnu is the Atma. It is the Sakshi Chaitanya Rupena. And it is of the nature of Vibhrajate, self-effulgent. Swayam Prakasha Chaitanya Rupena. Therefore, karma doesn't give moksha. Karma is not a pramanam for knowledge. Karma phalam is anityam. Only moksha is purnatvam. And so, karma tyaga is the sahakari sadhana for jnana sadhana. Manduka Upanishad also has a shloka which echoes the same wordings or the same meaning. Purusha evedam vishwam karma tapo brahma paramratam. Etado vedya nihitam guhayam so vidya granthim vikirati hasomya. Purusha alone is the universe. Karma and tapas are not enough. The highest immortal Brahman is seated in the cavity of the heart. Untie the knot of ignorance here and now in this life. And the Akshara Brahma Yoga, the Shloka 7 mentions, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuddhacha mayarpita mano buddhi mameva eshyasi asamshayam. Krishna says, this jnana vairagya siddhyartham is only through renunciation. Like we remove the crutches and make a person walk, remove the mental dependence of karma to attain kaivalya. It's necessary for me to share this story, and that is about the Brahmavadini Gargi who asked Maharshi Yagnivalka, who was a grahastha with 2 wives and a jnani, how can you, a grahastha, be a jnani? Is not sannyas essential for renunciation? And the Maharshi said, it is the mental sannyas which is the most important. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar, for a very nice explanation. I hope you don't mind me touching on some important aspects of this verse again. Again, you have a qualified student who has come to the teacher. I want that wisdom that makes me free to have Jivan Mukti. And the teacher says you have to have a certain quality of listening. Through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidityasanam, you will get the message. Now the teacher is saying, what is the obstacle to Brahma Vidya? What are those things if you practice, it will be difficult to find Brahma Vidya? He says karma. 90% of our work, what we do, we spend time on karma, on work. Prajaya means our children. Dhanena is acquiring wealth. So he tells these are the obstacles to Brahma Vidya. It is Brahma Vidya or spiritual wisdom is not possible through karma. There is a nice verse from the Upadesha Sara which says, Kriti mahodadau patanakaranam palamasashvatam gati nirodhakam. The more successful you become in your work, the more your work expands. And the more your work expands, the less time you have for anything spiritual. And that becomes a block to your spiritual work. So karma is one obstacle. Prajaya not only means children, it also means what we work for followers. I have so many followers on Twitter. I have so many friends on Facebook. I have so many people who are my followers. So these are all again obstacles, na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena. Then what is that which helps you? It is those 4-fold qualifications. And Brahmaji emphasizes out of Viveka, Vairagya, Mumukshutvam and Shamadhi, Shakta Sampatti, one of the most important index that you have the qualification is Vairagya. Vairagya means the ability to give up everything and anything that you have. That means even though you are mentally detached from all of that. If there is a mental sannyasa, you live in the world, but you are not attached to any of your possessions, your family members, even in your body. And that is an important quality. He says, if you have that quality, then you can go beyond the heavens. Parena nakam. Beyond the heavens means, is it far away from me? Then he says it is there within your heart. That consciousness which you can perceive is there within your heart. It is shining. Shining means you are aware of that. You can attain to that. And that is possible through all these methodology that we've described. Sannyasa is of 2 types. One is called Vividisha, vividly a sannyasi who wears an ochre robe. And the other, as Dr. Ravi Shankar described, the great Yagnavalka, is Vidvat, a Vidwan. That means when you have spiritual wisdom, you have a sense of detachment and ready to lose anything at any time. Port was already explained by Dr. Ravi Shankar. With that, we go to another extremely beautiful verse, and I need you to pay a lot of attention as Vidya Prabhu will explain verse number 4.
Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha Sannyasa Yogat Atayah Shuddha Sattvaha Te Brahma Lokeshu Paranta Kale Paramritaha Parimuchyanti Sarve. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The entire range of sadhanas is beautifully presented in this often quoted shloka. In the earlier shloka, we have learned that karma cannot give us moksha. But we have to understand that karma, which means the religious rituals here, is certainly required for chitta shuddhi. But to attain moksha, jnana is required. Shuddha sattvaha. Sattvam here means the mind. The first step in spirituality is the purification of the mind through karma yoga lifestyle. Purification of the mind involves the neutralization of raga and dvesha. Raga is attachment, dvesha is aversion. Swami Paramarthananda has coined a word RED, R-E-D-D, the 3 steps method to handle this. The first one is refinement. The refinement of ragadvesha means to be in alignment with dharma. One must develop attachment towards dharma and aversion towards adharma, which is the refinement of ragadvesha. The second one is disempowerment. Disempowerment of ragadvesha implies that one must take control through one's free will. Initially, using one's free will, one has to learn to control the likes and dislikes. But as the habit forms, the ragadveshas begin to control one's free will. So one should train the mind to command one's free will, not the other way around. The third one is disarmament. The disarmament of ragadvesha is to deal with various situations as a bhokta. One must learn to disarm the ragadvesha of its ability to be emotionally upset when situations arise. We should learn to accept that one does not have control over the occurrences of situations, but one can control one's emotional reactions to them. As a karta, one has to disempower the ragadveshas by doing all actions with Ishvara Arpana Bhavana, whether pleasant or unpleasant, as long as it is dharmic. One has to disarm the ragadveshas of their ability to emotionally upset him or her by accepting all situations with Ishvara Arpana Bhavana. The final result is, as a karta, one will keep her or his free will, and as a bhokta, they can keep their equanimity. Yatayaha, here it means a commitment to graduate from Karma Yoga Pradhana life to Jnana Yoga Pradhana life. Sannyasa Yogat, this indicates that one has to grow from the triangular format to the binary format, which Dr. Hegde explained in the initial beginning of the class. Even Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that among the 4 types of bhaktas, Advaita Bhakta is the greatest one. Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha. Vedanta Vijnana means Vedanta Shastra. Artha here means the central message of Vedanta. To claim Ahameva Atma, which means I am Atma, requires a tremendous courage. Vedanta teaching is to help us achieve the binary format. Paramrataha Bhavanti. They all become one with Brahman, which is Param, the absolute reality. They become immortal or Amritam. They attain Jivan Mukti, liberation, while still living. Paranta Kale. At the time of the death of the Jnani's body, Swami Paramarthananda calls this the final death. The Shastras say that the death of an Ajnani is not the final death because he will be born again. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. On the other hand, Jnani does not have Punarjanma or rebirth, therefore his death is final. Te sarve parimuchyanti brahma lokeshu. Those Jivan Muktas become Videha Muktas, merging into Brahma Chaitanyam. Thus, we see here the journey from Karma Yoga to Upasana Yoga to Jnana Yoga to attain moksha. Bhakti is the undertone of all these 3 sadhanas. To sum up, through renunciation, the pure-minded sannyasis have ascertained Brahman, which is beyond the object of Vedantic knowledge. Having become one with the infinite Brahman, they all resolve completely into Brahman at the time of death. Hari Om. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Vidya, for a very nice explanation. And when a person gives such a beautiful explanation, there is very little that I can say. But this is a very beautiful and a very popular mantra from both Mahanarayana and Kaivalya. And whenever Swamiji comes, this is the mantra that is chanted. I would like to share a story from Swami Akhandanandaji Maharaj, whose picture I have put. He was a great Acharya in Vrindavan, and he greatly influenced one of our teachers, Swami Anubhavanandaji. The story goes that when he visited Rishikesh, he came across an Avadut Maharaj. These Avadut Maharaj are mystics. They have not had any spiritual knowledge, but he could see something extraordinary in him. And he goes to him and says, "Can I tell you the stories of the Bhagavat?" And then that man agreed, and Swami Akhandanandaji would go to the Avadut Maharaj's place, and day in, day after day would share the stories of the Bhagavat, and he would listen with rapt attention. He had never heard these stories before, and he would have tears in his eyes listening to these stories. And when the session got over, whenever the class is over, the student has to give something to a teacher. He says, "And I am Avadut, I don't have anything, but I want to give you something. You have shared so much with me. I want you to remember something." He says, "From today onwards, remember, you are Sakshat Narayana himself." And Swamiji said, "From that moment, I never forgot." Friends, this is a Mahavakya. What is this Mahavakya? Vedanta Vijnana Sunishtitartha. What all the Upanishads tell you is you are already that. You are Sakshat Narayana himself. And how does this happen? Through various steps. Yata yaha. So there are a 5-step process through which you will be able to, when somebody directly says that you are that, it becomes very difficult to accept. The first step is to Shuddha Antakarana. How do you attain Shuddha Antakarana? Means to purify your mind. How do you do it? The word Yatayaha means a sannyasi. Yatayaha actually means a person who, you have the word Prayatnam. What does Prayatnam means? It just does not mean effort. It means a consistent effort in a specific direction. When you consistently work in a specific direction, the one who works for this will become successful. Such a person is called a Yatayaha. And if you put the right efforts, your Antakarana becomes purified. And that is the first step to achieve this Brahma Vidya. The second stage is a stage of withdrawal. As you said, from port and other things which take away your time, you come to a guru where you have, once your mind is ready to receive the knowledge, you get Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam, because you have reduced from all the other day-to-day activities. The third stage is when you come to a sense of conviction what the teacher is telling is true. You have moved from the triangular format to the binary format, and now you discover you are that. When you live in that fact, you now become a Jivan Muktaha. A Jivan Muktaha is one who is free while alive. What happens to such a person when he dies? Normally, when a person dies, it is called Antakale. For a Jivan Mukta, when he drops his body, it is called Parantakale. Primarily why? There is no Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. There is no rebirth for such a person. And this is the person who attains to the highest. And this is the beauty and the explanation of this particular mantra. Now there is a sudden shift in the gears. The teacher has given you a very lofty goal. And after giving you a lofty goal, he will tell you in the 5th mantra, how do we go about it? And to explain the 5th mantra, I'll request Mamta Shankar to explain this mantra to us, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vivikta deshe cha sukhasanastha shuchis samagriva shirashariraha atyashramasthas sakalendriyani nirudhya bhaktya swagurum pranamya. This verse is first of the 3 subsequent verses that Brahmaji talks about Dhyanam or meditation. Swami Paramarthananda says Dhyanam can be classified into 2 types, Upasana Dhyanam and Nididhyasana Dhyanam. In Upasana Dhyanam, there is Ekarupa, the Ishtadevata Dhyanam, which is with name and form. and the Vishwarupa Dhyanam, where you meditate upon the concept that the entire universe is the manifestation of the Lord. Nididhyasana Dhyanam is Arupa Dhyanam or Advaita Dhyanam, where the meditator meditates upon himself, and Arupa Ishvara is not any object of meditation. In both these types of meditation, the object of meditation is only Brahman or Ishvara. It is this concept of Ishvara which gets gradually refined with our exposure and understanding of Vedanta. The preparatory steps for all these three types of meditation are the same. Let us begin our understanding of these preparatory steps with an acronym called PROGS LC. PROGS, the short form for programs, and LC is for line of credit. PROGS LC, the acronym, helps us to remember the preparatory steps that Swamiji has described for Dhyanam. P in the acronym is for posture. Sukhasanastaha. You can sit in comfortable posture. Breathing should be slow and smooth. You can meditate any time in which the mind is sattvic, that is alert and quiet. There is no strict rule for the time. It could be morning or evening. Early morning is preferable because the mind is least likely to be preoccupied. R is for renunciation. Adhyashramastaha. The highest ashrama, although is sannyasa, here as per the Shastras, here it means mental sannyasa. Mentally renounce all relationships, obligatory duties, positions, and also all the transactions during the period of meditation. O is for organs, the sensory organs. Sakalendriyani nirudhya. All the sense organs must be withdrawn. Withdrawal of eyes is indicated as looking at the tip of the nose, but not thinking about the nose. The karmendriyas or senses must also be at rest. G is for Guru. Bhaktya Swagarum Pranamya. Before you start the meditation, invoke your Guru with devotion and mentally do namaskara to all the acharyas with an extension to Shastras and Ishvara. Only the word of Guru that you have heard during Shravanam should be reflected. Swaguru means one's own Guru, which clearly indicates that a Guru is necessary in the pursuit of Vedanta. S is for secluded. Vivikta Deshecha means to choose a secluded or quiet place where distractions are minimum or none. L is for line, the straight line. Let the neck, head, and the torso be in a straight line perpendicular to the ground. C, finally, in the acronym PROGS LC, is for clean. Shuchihi means you should be clean at all levels. The place, the surroundings, meditator, and clothing must all be clean. The mind is many a times disturbed due to our attachments, entanglements, and experiences. It is most important that this mind be free of all such impurities during dhyana. Two concepts in this verse are unique to Kaivalya Upanishad, the mental sannyasi and Guru Namaskara. Swamiji says, meditating with these simple preparatory steps will help in the spiritual journey towards ultimate spiritual goal, which is liberation or moksha. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Mamta, for a nice explanation. This verse, the 5th, 6th, and the 7th verses, Lord Brahmaji, our teacher, is talking about meditation. We should be very clear about meditation when you come into Brahma Vidya. Meditation is of two types. Meditation before we get Vedantic wisdom and meditation after Vedantic wisdom. Meditation done before Vedantic wisdom is called Upasana, and that prepares your mind to receive this Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi Mahavakya from the teacher. Once the wisdom is given that you are Sakshat Narayana himself, then you have to meditate on the, it's difficult to believe, but it takes some time to internalize these teachings. Meditation has been classified into Ekarupa, Aneka Rupa, and Arupa. And in these three verses, 5, 6, and 7, all the three forms of meditations are described. Ekarupa is to meditate on the Lord with forms, to see Shiva, Parvati in form, and that is the easy form of meditation. The next higher form of meditation is to be able to meditate on the Lord. The whole world is Brahman. And the highest and the most difficult is the form of Arupa form of meditation. So I have described before Brahma Vidya, it is called Upasana, where you do Ekarupa or Anekarupa. Once you get Vedantic wisdom, then you go to Arupa. Meditation should be done in a secluded place, and that place should be exclusive for meditation, a clean place, clean mind, sitting up erect in a comfortable posture. As the session is going on, I once in a while bring you back to your awareness of your body. Just become aware and allow your whole body to be relaxed. What our teacher says, meditation is not done, but meditation has to be a continual experience. If you are able to feel the presence of the Lord in the world around you, everything is reflecting the Lord, then you are in a form of meditation all the time. And that is how this whole process takes you. Of course, there is something unique that Kaivalya Upanishad. It says when you are in meditation, you have to be a mental sannyasi. That means all your thoughts about anything in the world, you have to leave it aside, otherwise they will disturb your forms of meditation. Bring in the picture of your guru and bring in bhakti, and that is the first step. We come to the last verse of today, and that will be explained by Dr. Komal Prasad, who is a senior consultant neurosurgeon working with us at Narayana. Dr. Komal, can you please explain verse 6?
Verse 6. Hrat pundarikam virajam vishuddham vichintya madhye vishadam vishokam achintyam avyaktam anantarupam shivam prashantam amrutam brahmayonim tatadi madhya anta vihinam ekham vibhum idhanandam arupam adbhutam.
Your audio is very faint, Komal. You may have to come closer to the microphone.
One more stage of preparation is discussed here in the first line, that is visualization.
Still very faint.
One more stage of preparation is discussed in the first line, that is visualizing our own heart. During the waking stage, the mind pervades all over the body because it's interacting with the external world. The Shastras say that mind resolves into the heart when not functioning, as in deep sleep state. So at the time of meditation, we must invoke or turn our attention towards this cave of our heart. Vichintya is to invoke or turn our attention towards Madhye, in the center of the body, Hrit Pundarikam, in the center of, that is the heart, the cave of the heart. Our mind should be turned inwards towards the cave of our heart. Virajam, keep Rajoguna under control. Bring wandering mind into your own heart. Vishuddham, mind should not be overpowered by Tamoguna. Choose an appropriate time, that is when you are alert and not feeling sleepy. Vishadam should be Sattva Guna Pradhana. Vishokam, that is with a cheerful mind. Try to keep a smiling face during meditation, so that hopefully mind will also calm down. Brahmaji is describing Dhyanam as an important sadhana, specifically here Shiva Dhyanam, which is meditation upon Lord Shiva. The three stages of meditation are Ekarupa Shiva, Vishwarupa Shiva, and Atmarupa Shiva. One cannot simultaneously follow all of them. One should go gradually from one stage to the next. Ekarupa to Vishwarupa to Atmarupa. Also, one cannot directly meditate on Atmarupa. Between Vishwarupa and Atmarupa Dhyanam, there is a very important intermediary step, sadhana, that is Vedanta Shravana Mananam. Without knowing the definition and nature of Atma through Shravana and Manana, it is impossible to meditate on Atma. All three meditations are combined in this one verse and will identify each description of Lord Shiva with a type of meditation. Achintyam, Lord Shiva is not an object of recognition by the sense organs and the mind. So meditate on the unobjectifiable and incomprehensible Shiva. That's Achintyam is Arupa Shiva. So the meditation here is Nididhyasanam. Avyaktam means the Lord Shiva is not available to the sense organs. Indriya Agocharam, Ashabda, Asparsha, Arupa, Arasa, Agandham. It represents Vishwarupa Ishvara or Anantarupa or Anekarupa Ishvara. Anantarupam describes Lord Shiva as Vishwarupa Ishvara. Shivam means Sarva Dukkha Nashaka, that is destroyer of sorrows, Sarva Mangala Swarupa. Prashantam means total tranquility, applicable to all three forms. Amritam means the immortal one, applicable to all three forms, but primarily to Arupa or Atmarupa Shiva. Brahmayonim is creator of Hiranyagarbha. Brahman is both the Nimitta and Upadana Karanam of Hiranyagarbha. Tat Adi Madhya Anta Vihinam. Lord Shiva is free from the beginning, middle and the end. It's applicable to both Vishwarupa and Atmarupa Ishvara, but it's not applicable for Ekarupa Shiva, who is finite and limited. Vibhum. This means the one who manifests as everything, as Panchabhutas. So, Sarvam Shivamayam Jagat. Vibhum describes Shiva as Vishwarupa Ishvara. Chidanandam, he who is in the form of pure consciousness and pure happiness. This pure happiness is absolutely identical to pure consciousness, and therefore it is called Chidanandam. Arupam. Arupam means free from form. This description is applicable to Atmarupa Shiva, which is Nirguna Atma only. When we say free from Rupam, we should also include other forms, other four also, that is Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Arasam and Agandham. Adbhutam. Brahman is the wonder of all wonders, because Brahman creates a world without actually creating, just as we create a dream world merely with our thoughts without actually creating it. Dream is only a mental projection and therefore non-existent, but it appears solidly real when we are dreaming. It is difficult to accept the world as mithya, even though it is only nama rupa without substance. That Brahman could create such a universe itself is the greatest adbhutam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Komal, for giving a very complete explanation of this very difficult verse with full of terms like signposts. Remember, we are studying about meditation. There are three verses, verse 5, verse 6, and verse 7 talk about various forms of meditation. However well somebody explains, unless you have gone through the text, you've gone through Swamiji's audios, you will find it difficult to explain. So I will not waste time. I will ask you to go through these notes of Swamiji once again, because Komal has very nicely explained each of these terms on which we come from, Ekarupa, Anekarupa to Arupa form of meditation. I would like to give you a quick glimpse of what we are going to study the next class. We have come to the end of today's. If you have a little glimpse of what is there next week, and if you have the ability to get Swamiji's audios on this, very good. Otherwise, we will share with you excellent notes by Dr. Sundar. Dr. Sundar has done nice notes on Swamiji's talks, which we will be able to share with you. Make your effort, but if you can get his audios, nothing like that. And then when we speak about these verses, the next verse will be, the 7th verse is talking about meditating on Lord Shiva and all the forms. You will have this word like Trilochanam, Neelakantam, Prashantam, all the attributes of Shiva and Parvati in each form. And then we go to, in this Upanishad, we go to like the Vishwarupa Ishvara. You will see that Brahman is Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. He is everything. You will see it goes to Ekarupa, to Anekarupa. And then finally, every Upanishad that we study somewhere brings about Omkara. And the picture of Omkara as churning that Arani rod, when you have to ignite that fire, and how Omkara can bring about knowledge is very beautifully brought out, and I would like you to listen to that. And the last verse for the next class will you require a revision of all the three bodies that you have lived in, the Tripura, and only then Kaivalya Upanishad you will be able to enjoy the beauty of that. With that we conclude today's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.